Chilling, bro.
Life is amazing.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You know, this is a pretty momentous occasion, a joint EP by two of St. Lucia's finest.
Respect my
Yeah,
jeans.
have to give
I
respect.
didn't expect to feel so special today.
Have to give respect where it's due, of course. You know, thank you for doing this interview in the first place.
Absolutely.
This is the first piece that we're doing for RUM Media, and I think it's only right I start with you guys. You, Kayo, showed me a lot of support for RUM Media, trying to pursue this music career, and Gen, I'm a very big new fan of your music, so I appreciate all of you showing.
Come on, bro.
Some back. Yeah. So, I mean, RUM Media is a Caribbean-wide platform, so there are people from Barbados, Antigua, Grenada, Trinidad, Toronto, the UK, all listening. So, just give a brief introduction to why you guys started music, not how. The how has always been in any interview you've done before, but the real why as to why you started music.
Jesus Christ, bro.
It's a good
I love the fact it wasn't the how, it was the why. As soon as, because if it was a how, I would have given you the classic story.
You know the timeline.
Yeah, but now you said like why, it just made me realize, I think it's a deeper spiritual connection for me, because like I have like a lot of, my whole family is just like entertainment and stuff. So my dad was a songwriter, so he wrote with like Barris Hammond and Bounty Killer, and like he was bringing in here, he was a record producer, promoter and stuff. So I guess like I've always kind of had that in me subconsciously growing up, from like my dad always playing Barris Hammond and stuff in the house, and me writing, you know, little love songs when I was young, and then going to the UK from St. Lucia, being introduced to a whole new genre of music, grime, and that being like the best thing I ever heard in my life and falling in love with it. So the why, I think, is like a much like a spiritual reason. I feel like there's nothing I could have done other than music.
Wow.
No matter what I tried to do, because I did try other things like working in sales, working in recruitment, corporate life, and it was always just pulling me, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, the why is just meant to happen. There's no other thing I could have done.
Wow. What about you, Kayo?
For me, like, I always felt like a bit of an outlier, a bit of an outsider sometimes. Maybe a lot of the times it's in my own head. But as a result of that, music or writing or poetry or that aspect of art was always my outlet. So like from an early age, I would just vent through it before even knowing that it was what I wanted to do, before even being able to share it with others. It was just like my outlet. Yeah. And at some point in time, as I kept going at it, something clicked, and it became more than that, and it became like a part of my identity. It became a part of who I am, to the point where, like what Jen said, I don't know what it is that I would be doing if it wasn't for music. Yet at the same time, especially now, this path that I chose has really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and it showed me like the journey is so much more important than just the destination. So for me, I do music. The why I do music is because it allows me to be selfish and selfless at the same time. For real, because it's selfish because it's my outlet. I do it first and foremost for me.
As you should
reasons. But the fact that I can touch people's lives or something that I put out there becomes something that resonates with someone or changes others' lives, that's the double-edged sword about it that makes it as fulfilling as it is.
Yeah.
So
selfish and selfless, have we written that down?
oh yeah,
That's a song. That's a song.
Tiny on my phone.
That's a new
selfish and selfless.
At the same time.
Because that's what we do is just be vulnerable in what we do.
Yeah.
And then you realize, there's millions of people around the world who feel that the same way. That's literally all it is. So it's just being selfish and selfless. That's what art is. It's just
that's fantastic.
I created this shit. Go and catch this vibe on this.
100%. Yeah. Well, damn, that's two very poignant examples and
that was a great first question, bro.
I'm not gonna lie, that might have been the best question I've answered.
Damn.
Yeah, man, we get it because listen, I've met you guys, I know you guys before. I'm not trying to have this sort of run-of-the-mill conversation now, like this and that and that, but you know, you guys are real artists, and you're artists at a certain level, you know what I mean, on a global standard, and what you guys are talking about on this EP is some real shit. You know, before we get there, how did you guys fucking link up? Like, how did this even happen? Like, I need to know that story, because I actually don't know that story.
Yeah.
I just kind of saw it happen, I was like, that seems amazing, this is perfect.
Right? That's how I feel too.
Everyone says that same thing. It's like, yeah, it just works. Like, how did you meet? And they expect a story of like, we grew up in school and then it's like, we just met, man.
We just met at the end of 2019.
Wow.
I can't even lie.
So like, right before the pandemic.
This whole situation saved me, bro. Like,
wow.
I'll tell you what, like, the past 3 years of my life have been probably the hardest 3 years of my life, but the most significant 3 years of my life because of all of the things that have changed. I mean, it's like a metamorphosis almost, bro. Like so much has taken place. So like, I met Gen at the end of 2019. I came back to St. Lucia. In June. That year I was doing like hella songwriting. I was in Halifax, I was in Toronto, I was in Newfoundland, then I went to Atlanta for a month, and then I came to St. Lucia. And the plan was just to be here for like a month and a half or something. We did Soulstice in August. Right. It was as like part of the Roots and Soul Festival. That was probably the last Roots and Soul Festival.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Yeah. Did that, and then my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and that whole thing happened, and I went to Trinidad with my dad right after Soulstice. I came back. They gave us the news and everything. The doctor. This is a long story still. The doctor told us that he had 3 weeks to live, and within them 3 weeks he passed. Yeah. And them 3 weeks, right after that, I kind of just, again, my mindset, my whole vibe changed to the point where like, what became more important to me at that point in time was family. So I decided to stay. I was there for a minute. Gen came down in November of that year. So August, September, October, November, I meet Gen. And even there's this story of how we met. I remember I was on a boat ride with another artist. He was telling me about this guy in the UK. He's a Lucian. He does grind music. He's pumping his tunes on the boat, all kind of thing. I was like, all right, this dude is lit. I would love to meet him at some point in time.
Yeah.
Right? Then, my girlfriend's cousin tells us that her cousin is coming down from the UK. Would you guys mind taking him around, showing him around, that kind of vibe? I'm like, alright, I'm not exactly built for this. I'm not kind of good.
Just meeting some random nigga.
Just meet a random dude and just bro.
And I was very anxious about it as well. I was like, CJ, why are you trying to just set me up with these?
You're the cousin.
Huh?
You're the cousin's friend.
He was the guy. So he's the artist that they were telling me about. And he was the cousin at the same time.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I'm trying to show you.
Yeah. So we pick him up, we take him. I can't remember.
Coconuts or something.
And from that moment, it just like clicked.
Yeah, like literally as soon as we met, I was just like, yeah, this guy, like it just makes sense. I just feel like I know this guy, and I am like, he's like the older version. He's like my big bro. Like literally in one meeting, I was like, yeah, and that never happens to me. So
yeah, there's only few people you meet in your life where like
it
is a spiritual thing where you just kind of know one time.
Yeah.
And Gen was one of them dudes.
Yeah. And that's the same thing with Soulstice. It's like as soon as we started, we went for that first night out, we had a great night, obviously. And then
we went to the studio that first night.
We went to the studio that first night, we made a song in like
half an hour.
We
went to Rituals at the marina for my girlfriend's birthday.
Yeah.
We went there, we had dinner. And then she went to Coconuts with her girlfriend.
And we were like,
we went to the studio.
He was like, bro, there's a studio here. I was like, what is a studio here? Let's go. And then we went to the studio half an hour, made a song,
and then went back to Coconuts.
Together inside.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's a super organic link-up,
right?
But you know what? To take that even deeper, if you want to, it's my purpose for coming back here was not music. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was at that point where I was kind of giving up on music at that time because it's like I'm doing it, yeah, it's great, people love what I'm doing and that, but it wasn't paying me really. Like, you know what I mean? I was just at that point, and then I was going through like I don't want to take this too deep, and that's where Too Paranoid for Paradise is based on. I was in a very bad mental state. I was, I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I go through like really bad depressive stages. I was in the UK, you know what it's like. Yeah. So all of that was going on. So I was just coming back home just to see my family, because all my family's from here. I was born and raised there. When I'm in the UK, I'm on my own. So like I came back home just to see my family, get some, see some sun and trees and recharge. And I said I just come here for a month and whatever, and that's it. Yeah. And then I meet this guy, and it's like it worked on both scales, like for both our benefits. And he told me about Soulstice, and I was like, bro, I literally said if I was to come back home, the only reason I'd even do music is to rebirth something here. Yeah. So not for kids so that they don't have to go through what we did, where it's like you have to feel like you need to go to Toronto to be a rapper. You have to leave here to go to London to be a rapper, and it's like, because if it's not Bacchanal and Calypso and thing, they don't want to hear it. Yeah. So I had this vision, but I never really thought about it until he told me what Soulstice is. And I was like, bro, that's word for word exactly what my goal is in life. Yeah. So the business happened just based on pure, like I said, spirituality. It's like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, let's get into Soulstice a little bit then, because I remember seeing you just sort of start branding Soulstice on like a lot of your content. I think a couple of videos. Tell me if I'm wrong, but this is right when you started the playlist, right? You were doing. It was after your last album. You did a full album.
Winter in St. Lucia.
And then it was like right after that, I think I started seeing Soulstice really like come to the forefront of what you were doing. And it seemed interesting to me. I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. Like, I think Kayo is doing the right thing from a music business standpoint, because he's establishing not a fully separate brand, but something that can live on its own that's connected to him, but you're creating a platform. You're creating a beautiful platform for a lot of local St. Lucian acts.
Thank you, bro.
And based off what I was seeing, I was like, okay, dope. I want to see where this guy takes this. And then you guys deliver a fucking compilation album.
Video of the Birds album.
That to me was just kind of like, holy shit, like this has never been done. Never been done. It's never been done. And I don't care who anybody tells me.
And we did it again with this rap album.
100%. It's never been done before. And you didn't decide you were going to do a soca compilation album. You did a compilation album that had artists of all genres from this island. You know what I mean? And that was beautiful. Just tell me kind of why you even decided, like, let me do this, and what's the driving force behind everything you guys have done and what do you guys plan on doing as well?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. The last album that you're speaking about, Winter in St. Lucia, that album and Soulstice kind of came into or birthed in the same summer, if you will, right? Okay. So I had come down to St. Lucia. I was here for 6 weeks. I went to Trinidad for Carnival. I came back to St. Lucia, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to do a vibe, because every time that I come home to St. Lucia and I want to perform, I want to showcase or whatever, I can't really, because there's no platform for that, right? So I decided we had to create the platform.
As you do.
Shout out my brother Quan Miller. Quan was who put me in touch with Ultra Lounge at the time, and we started doing an event series. I came up with the name Soulstice in the shower. I remember we were going over it for a couple of days and trying to figure out the name, and then Soulstice was it, because it represented like a a rebirth, if you will. The correlation between the sun and the moon and the summer solstice, the winter solstice, it all kind of made sense. And then adding the SOUL, the soul, to it was very important because at the end of the day, that's the common denominator. That's the thing that like connects us all. So we started doing this event series at Ultra Lounge, not Ultra Lounge, at
It was at things. Well, it used to be called Santic in our days.
Santic, Zen nightclub is what it was called when we were doing it there.
Yes.
So we were doing it every Sunday. Every Sunday we bring in a different special artist, right? But it would be like from different genres. We have R&B, we have reggae, we have Afro beats, we have jazz, we have all kind of different vibes. We even take soca artists and put them in that same environment, that same setting, so that they can connect with their fans on a more, intimate and personal level. At the time, I was just doing it because I wanted to create that vibe, I wanted to create that outlet. And I realized what it was starting to do in terms of like shifting the culture and really creating a platform for other artists who felt just like me. As we kept going, it just kept evolving. So every time I come home to St. Lucia, instead of doing like 6 weeks at a time, I would do one concentrated one. So we do one for Christmas, we did one for Independence, things of that nature. We kept doing that for a while, every time I come home. And then we did the last one at these venues, I can never remember the Orlando's. And after that is when we started going in a different direction.
Right.
So that summer that I came home, not even just that summer, countless trips before that, Rashad Joseph's studio was always like the spot. Right? So like Shemi would come through there, C-Dale, Big C, OV Gang, all of them, right? That's the spot. And then we just keep hooking up these records. But then we wouldn't necessarily have a home for them because they were all so collaborative. It was just all a bunch of artists in the studio, catching a vibe. One put a hook there, one put an ad-lib there, one put a verse there. But we didn't really know like where to go with it. And the market here in St. Lucia wasn't very project driven. It's still very singles driven. So we decided to do the project. I remember it was like December 26th. The day after Christmas, Rashad and I went through the songs that we had at the point in time, all like stuff that we had recorded. And then during, like between December and February 14th is when the album came out, is when we were kind of all piecing it together. So once we had the songs selected, then the sessions that we were having was to like, the cohesion to it. So that's where Dwight came in, that's where Dwight added a lot of those like interlude moments and the transitions and things of that nature. And Gen kind of came in, bro, like this is all kind of, you swear we planned it. The way that this is all kind of playing out as an overall story from where we both were individually to where Soulstice started to doing this collaborative album to now doing this EP together. Right. Because like even at the point where we had with the Birds album, it was like the pieces that tied it together. Like Jen just sent me a voice note one morning, right? Like after a session that we had that previous night. Yeah. And it's like, bro, like I'm so proud of you guys.
Family. These might give me so much. They give me so much jokes about this voice note because I woke up and I'm just like, family. Like I'm so proud of you niggas. Like seriously, because I just came back and these men like reminded me of what I love doing. I fell in love with music again. I was like, oh my god, I miss being in the studio with some real people around me that I could just talk to about my emotions, not feel any way about it, and turn it into art. Because I went through a phase where it just wasn't like that, man. So that's why I came in at the tail end of it, but it's like, I didn't want to do too much. And that's what you were telling me the other day, it's perfect how it happens.
It's perfect how it played out because even when we were going through the rollout of all of that, like if you look at it as like this is a show, right? Or this is a movie that's playing out and each artist or each component of this is in their own way a character, right? Yeah. Jen came in at the point in this story where it's like, who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Yeah, bro.
Right?
I've never done music on my own island, which is what was hurting my soul. Right. I left here when I was 10. I went to London. I killed it, bro. I was doing shows every week. Shoreditch, Indigo, to festivals. Crazy. Europe, started doing little things there. And I'm St. Lucian, bro, and I've never done music on my island. So I had this sense of guilt where I was just like, I'm just gonna come back here, just on a humble thing and just whatever. And then I link up with these, man, and I realize, yeah, this is what you love doing. It's
it's dope to watch too, because you could tell that he, like, it kind of even just makes sense, like how he came in and he wasn't too familiar with the vibe yet. You check it, so he's just, he kind of pacing. He didn't want to push too much.
I'm just in the background, just looking at things
contributing like studio etiquette. And then as he feels more comfortable, as he gets more integrated into the whole vibe, is when you get to see different aspects of this character, different moments that make you want, like, more intrigued about it. You feel me? So like, I don't lie, like, honestly, it's blessed that it happened in the organic way that it did. Like, even like from a marketing perspective, like, this shit is mad, bro.
It makes sense, bro.
The manager in me is like, whoa.
Yeah, because I'm just out here, like, what are we saying? Let's do this, bro.
I'm at the point in my career or in my position here in singing Lucian music, if you will, as like,
a veteran.
You feel me?
Yeah,
like I'm kind of like in the middle of like the new guys and the guys that have been there from time. You feel me? So it's like there's a certain like standard already set or level of expectation. So while everybody would still be a fan, you feel me, or still know there's going to be a vibe wherever that name is associated with it, they still already know what to expect. So there's a level of like, complacency there, if you will. As you start adding these new vibes, these new stories, these new characters, and how it all plays out, it not only gives new life to what it is that I'm doing, but it also sparks a new lane for others who is looking for a door to be open. So it's like,
it's great. It's just like it's a new arc in the anime,
It's a new
arc in the anime. And it's an arc that you didn't really expect.
You didn't expect it, but when it happened, you just see the moon just like taking over, and you just see the whole thing just dark, and it's just like Soulstice, and it's just like, like we're here, son.
Too Paranoid for Paradise. That title is strong, I guess is the best word. You know what I mean? It has a lot of impact. I relate to it for sure, just on a personal level, through the things that I go through. Let's talk about the title track. You guys were delved into a lot of deep stuff in that title track, and I think went into some dark but light places, I guess, because when you get into that point, you see the light out of it.
Absolutely.
So, expand a little bit more on that for me, and just tell me kind of what this project means to you, and just talk about the themes around it, I guess.
You want to talk about Too Paranoid for Paradise? What's crazy about this is like, even where just the title came from, that to me is like one of the most like, the craziest thing about the whole thing is because remember I just came down at the end of 2019. I just started meeting with Kayo introduced me to the OV gang and Rashad and studio and stuff. And then we did the Birds album. Then we started shooting for 758, which is like one of the biggest songs.
You shot that like January.
Yeah, so January. So I'm just new to these guys, and they invited me to come down, and we're down south, shooting a music video and stuff. And then Kayo and I was like, he was playing beats from his car. And we were freestyling because I just met this guy recently. He's been 2-3 months now. We're a bit cool. And just drop some bars and catch your vibe and shit. And we're freestyling and stuff. And he just kept throughout his freestyle kept saying because I'm too paranoid for paradise. And whenever he kept saying that, I was like, yeah, bro, that. Like I don't know what that is, but whatever that is, just write this down, and this will be of some significance at some point in time. A year later.
It was an idea that I've been percolating for a while. And when we decided to do the EP, actually, the reason we did that was because we were both in a place where we were kind of like dodging, working on our own shit. It was just we had just come off with the Birds album, we had just come out of a lockdown. It was a weird time, it was a weird feeling. I have this project that I've been working on for quite some time. It's like you know, like my holy grail, if you will.
Yeah.
And Gen has a bunch of projects that he's been wanting to put out at the same time, but we just couldn't really get around to it. So we decided to spark a vibe. This is what we do. We locked in for we decided on a week. Ended up being just 4 days. We were able to get the bulk of what we needed done. And Too Paranoid for Paradise, again, was just a common denominator that was there. The fact that that idea had evolved.
It resonated with me for the whole time. I was literally 5, 6 months, 7 months down the line. I was like, don't forget that 2 Paranoid for Paradise thing, bro. Because that just resonated with me because the reason I came back to St. Lucia was because, like I said, I was going through a really difficult time mentally. I was going through a really bad phase of depression. Just broke up with my girlfriend and I split. And it was I was going through this everything with family, mentally, relationship-wise, work, this, music, and you want to do this anymore? Everything. I was just in a really dark, confused place. And when the theme of Too Paranoid for Paradise came along, it just made so much sense to me because that's who I am. Because I'm out here, but I was still just still very depressed. You know what I mean? I was in the house, there's all this greenery around me, but I just couldn't take it in. I was in such a dark place. And as soon as I met Kayo and he started taking me out, I was just oh yeah, all of this is out here. And you come out of your mind and you start, so honestly, bro, it means a lot. And that whole theme, like you said, is based on mental health, it's based on family, it's based on relationships, love, heartbreak. It's all of these things that just make you, a paranoid person because you've experienced all these things.
And it's a real weird place to be because, dealing with those things, especially in the times that we're dealing with it, in the midst of a pandemic, bro, it's almost you kind of feel guilty for feeling those feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because look around you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to be grateful for the amazing things that we do have around us. So it was really just dealing with, expressing that kind of conflict or that kind of complexity that we have been both dealing with. But again, that had been a vibe that had been growing along the time, just from us just liming and just working on the project. It was one of those beats that I had from the OV since I was in Atlanta in 2019.
Yeah, the stars had to align the way
right?
it did.
I had this beat since 2019. That wasn't even the first beat that we played that we got that Too Paranoid for Paradise vibe from.
I didn't even know that. I'm just feeling this now.
It wasn't. And I don't even know if I recorded a whole version of Too Paranoid for Paradise prior.
How does it send me this, bro? What?
Right? So by the time we got into the project, the beat, the idea, my verse, again, that came back to the same way that we was doing the Bills album because those components were already there, and then Gen added his perspective to it, his version of the story, which is pivotal, you feel me? And then while we was working on that record, we were we had to get smalls on it. So we called him on WhatsApp, we voiced him.
That's someone who knows what we're talking about.
Right? We voiced him the verse that we had so far, and same day he sent the verse back. And
that song, honestly, bro, that song is so deep and so spiritual, fam. It's all the songs we did on the project, I did them in the studio. We were just, locked in, whatever. That one, the way it grabbed my soul, I told Kayo, I cannot write for this right now. I literally took it home, and I just went to sleep. I slept on it, and I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm never gonna forget this. And for some reason, that was just calling me, and I just put my headphones on, and I kept the lights off because I couldn't get back to sleep. Put my headphones in, heard the beat, and everything just came out. I couldn't write it in the studio. I had to be tapped into that. And I just went through everything from depression to trigger alert and that, suicide attempts and this and that. Everything that I've just been trying to just not really talk about, it all just came out on that tune, and that became one of the most important songs I've made of this year. For sure.
And it was because it was such a common denominator. It was even just the title of it, right? It's one of those things where we could have just done the single and ran with that, or we could have done a body of work around the single that helped give more life to the title in itself. Right?
That's a perfect explanation of my experience listening to it.
Okay.
That's a perfect explanation because it starts off kind of oh, this is cool, and then boom, Gen just comes in and is just fucking the whole shit up.
I got so many messages about that today.
People just kind of whoa, and you're whoa, okay. And then you take a little step back.
Yeah.
You get into a situation where it's just like, okay, no, it's a vibe. Then you kind of take another step, and then it gets into the place I was telling you guys about. It's like the trust issues,
The paranoia.
you know what I mean? The paranoia starts setting in. You know what I mean? It starts setting in by like the third track. Correct me. The title is Story.
Story Up.
Story up.
Story Up. Yeah. By Story Up, it kind of the paranoia starts settling in.
Yes, fam.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
shook them time.
And then you know it really hits with the title track, and then you guys kind of like come out of that a bit in the last two tracks.
Yeah.
And for me, I like
That's
the
a line at the end.
records
Yeah.
was a very Soulstice thing to do kind of thing, and it's something that I really wanted to like make a theme going through these projects, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what it was founded on, like the Soulstice live events, the intimate acoustic vibes. It's where I really got my start here in St. Lucia, because like as a rapper, I couldn't just come out here and like, you feel me? So I had to find different ways. I collaborated with soca artists, dancehall artists, reggae artists, jazz artists, all kind of things, until we came to like this acoustic vibe that was just like the common denominator again, because you just feel it. It's just raw. It's just, you know, stripped down and it's straight to the point. And I just want to keep, you know, some of them themes throughout the whole thing.
What the craziest thing I find about that though is like my last project is called Bipolar Opposite, and it touches on these same themes about me having bipolar disorder, depression, paranoia, this and that, relationship, heartbreak, family, all the stuff. And when I look at 2 Pound for Paradise, I just realized it's literally the same theme. You start off, my first single is John Wick on it, and it's just bars. Then you go into that, you get into that, and you get into the deepness, manic depressive, whatever, and you come out, and the last song is Hey.
Same vibe.
So we literally, without even realizing, I mean, I'm in my own world creating this project and I put it out. People took it like that, and then me and Kayo link up with part 2 Pound for Paradise. It's the same thing, but the last 2 songs to show you, you go through all that, but you come out with the light. I don't get deep and whatever, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, like, if you listen to the last few projects that have come out during the course of this story, this journey, if you will, from Winter in St. Lucia, going all the way through, and I'm not even just talking about my projects, but Jen's as well, Smalls, Rashad, like
there's a theme,
right? And it's honestly just it's amazing as a fan first, it's amazing for me to see, and as a creative, as an artist, it's a blessing to be a part of.
And I mean, all of you guys have like just continued to, you know, raise the bar, like continuously from then.
Elevate the experience every time.
Every time, and you guys continue to do that. So I think it's a good place to you know, wrap up.
Absolutely.
And congratulations again, man.
Thank you, bro.
Fantastic project.
Yeah, man.
And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to sit down with me and
thank you for having us, bro. I appreciate what you're doing, and like a lot of like, I know this is about us, but like big up RUM and everything. What you're doing is absolutely incredible, and I support it full-heartedly without you even having to say anything, because I just appreciate what you're doing, man, and that's like real shit.
That means a lot to me, man. So cheers.
No.